Hello everyone, and welcome to JoJolion Chapter 71 review, a highly anticipated chapter to say the least, as last chapter, Chapter 70, where you're introduced to a potentially new villain, Poor Tom, who was working with Jobin, a new stand was introduced, and we were revealed that the next battle was going to take place at the Higashikata estate, and it was going to involve Jobin against Mamazuku and Josuke at the, like Higashikata estate, right next to the house, so maybe potentially family members could get involved, so everyone was super excited, and Araki bamboozled us, and this chapter is a flashback that's focused all around Yasuho. And I know I say this pretty much every single month, but this is one of the better chapters we've had in recent memory. But not only is this one of the better chapters we've had lately, it's one of the best chapters in JoJolion, period. So although this month wasn't exactly what we were expecting, everyone's showing up at the estate and a big confrontation happening, it is extremely good, and it makes me even more excited for what's to come next because we have more motives introduced, and it really just builds a lot on Yasuo's character. This entire chapter is pretty much just Yasuo character development, giving her a motive, and just making her a better character. So if you guys are Yasuo fans, you are going to love this chapter, and even if you're not, this is just JoJolion at its finest right here. So jumping right into the chapter, like always, starting with the cover page, and we have Yasuo just sitting with Paisley Park in the background in a familiar setting looking like the Higashikata estate with all the trees in the background, and the chapter is entitled Something She Once Saw. It's pretty common in JoJolion for a chapter that follows a few arcs of non-stop action to include the first couple pages just being a recap of the story, what the current objective is, and what's in store for us next. This one, pretty much basic things like the Rokakaka, what it does, what we need to do to harvest it, we need Mamazuku to get the estate, and also that there is going to be more rock humans there waiting to ambush us. So we pretty much knew this, and of course the last chapter really set this up with Ozone Baby being explained and how it's going to work and how it is going to activate at the Higashikata estate. So this is pretty common. We had one a while back with Tsurugi's inner monologue. I believe it was during the Jobin and Kato flashback arc. And also, I'm surprised, at least myself, didn't see this coming. I should have expected this. It's pretty common after 3 or 4 arcs for there to be some sort of flashback or some sort of just break in between the action, but the stakes seem so high and the tension seemed so strong when Ozone Baby was being set up. I really didn't expect a flashback or just a break in story right here, but we do, nothing too crazy. Like I said, it's not uncommon for a flashback arc to occur. We had it a while back with Kato and Jobin, but yeah, this one's all about Yasuo, and I really don't mind it. As I said before, it is an extremely good arc and develops her character that, now in retrospect, Yasuo's character really did need to be developed, as her relationship with Josuke did seem a bit forced, and I was always questioning myself, why does Yasuo want to be in this situation, and why is she even dragged up in all of this? Is her, love relationship with Josuke that strong to the point where she's willing to risk her life to be in these situations with him? But all of that's cleared up in this chapter, and it's done very well. So before the arc naturally progresses into Yasuo's flashback, we get some dialogue that just brings more of a conclusion to the recent Urban Gorilla arc, and some dialogue from Mamazuku I was very much expecting, and it's just another box to check off in my Mamazuku is alternate universe Rohan list. So I won't talk about this very long, but I really want to make an entire video about this eventually, especially once maybe even JoJolion ends, how Mamazuku Rai is alternate universe Rohan. Some of us even expected this. Medi made an entire video talking about their similarities and also that their abilities were going to be the same, but Araki kind of bamboozled us there with Doggy Style, as it wasn't that far off thinking that he was going to have a Heaven's Door-like ability, but that didn't happen, unfortunately. So, just briefly, the role they play in the story being elder-type characters that support the main cast, also being masters of their profession, Rohan being a master mangaka, Mamazuku being a master appraiser, and also their designs exactly represent this. Anytime we see Rohan, any outfit he's wearing, it always has pens all over, showing his profession. Same with Mamazuku, although we've only seen him in one outfit. He has pea pods, plants, and vines all over his body, and those two are very specific, as not a lot of other characters in JoJolion directly represent what they are masters of. And of course, they're masters of their crafts. Master mangaka, master appraiser. And when Rohan was first introduced, he hurt Koichi Hirose, doing physical damage to him, as we thought Rohan was going to be a villain-type character, just another minor antagonist. But then he ended up supporting the main cast. And when Mamazuku was involved, people were like, I don't know if this guy's a good guy or bad guy yet. And then we saw him elbow Yasuo off of a chairlift, falling into danger. So when they were both introduced, they both hurt the Hirose of their respective parts. But eventually, they grow to like them. Maybe Mamazuku and Yasuo won't become best friends like Koichi and Rohan and hang out all the time, but Mamazuku is showing traits of respecting Yasuo and even liking her to an extent, saying, you there, I won't call you a hindrance anymore. You were able to figure out and how to guide Josuke in the right direction, I kind of like you. You're not so useless after all. So they're both becoming fine of the Hirose at this point. So, like I said, I want to make an entire video at some point talking about their similarities and how they're just really damn cool characters. Although he doesn't really hate Josuke like Rohan does, but maybe he will eventually. Anyways, alternate universe Rohan, Mamazuku, another reason why he is the best character in JoJolion, okay? But after Mamazuku says that, he wants to protect Yasuho, and he says, you there. There's no reason you need to be in this situation. This is between me and Josuke. You need to go home now. And then Yasuho begins her inner monologue that will dive into her flashback. So for Yasuo's flashback here, like usually, I would analyze pretty much every bit of dialogue and every panel in the chapter. For this, I'm going to leave it pretty vague and just go over the main things that happen in this. I really recommend if you already read the chapter, you just go back, really examine the dialogue in Yasuo's flashback and just really appreciate the scenery, as it's a really special chapter we have here. It almost seems like it's a Yasuo one-shot, similar to like the Rohan DNA and the Thus Spoke Rohan Kishibeis. It's just a really nice change of pace. Really look around Yasuo's room, you'll notice some cool posters and everything, and just, yeah, there's a lot of dialogue here, but it really doesn't need to be, I don't need to go over it to the point where it's redundant. It's very simple. The theme of this flashback with the hair clip and the rock human almost seems like it's a derivative of some sort of folklore story or some sort of, old tale that Araki just sort of took and based this arc off of this. It really seems like something like that. So getting into it, it's a really beautiful, set of pages as well. And you see Yasuo when she was only 13 years old in middle school. And I don't know, just go back, read this, really analyze the visuals, analyze the dialogue, and just enjoy it, okay? So getting into it, Yasuo just has a bit of dialogue, inner monologue, before we jump directly into the flashback. But keep in mind, while Yasuo is telling this entire story, she's telling it out loud. Like, I didn't get that until the end. I'll talk about that later after the flashback, but like Yasuo sort of goes on. What I thought was an inner monologue, like, yes, I was 13 in my first year in middle school, reflecting on it now, there's no mistaking it. It was that kind of situation. And then it goes into the flashback, and I was like, okay, Yasuo just talking to herself. But then when it's out, Mamazuku's like, why the fuck did you tell me all of that? It's just, all right, whatever, let's get into it. So it starts off at a flea market where we see what is presumably a rock human, which we can infer after the flashback takes place. And there's just, a bunch of ornaments, a bunch of accessories, and there's a hair clip there. And of course, it is a rock animal, as most of us know by now, because all the spoilers for the chapter were like, it was the final page where it was like, rock animal, hair clip destroyed. And before we saw anything to the chapter where we just saw that, people were like, oh my god, Jobin's legendary hair clip is the new enemy in JoJolion, but it was a different hair clip. It wasn't Jobin's. So Yasuo buys this hair clip it was pretty expensive as well. It was like over 7,000 yen. And she was obsessed with it. She was like, it's so beautiful. And the reason she bought it is because she sees her dad on every Sunday to spend time with him, as her parents are divorced. So she only gets to see her dad once a month or once a week. And she says, I love it when dad calls me cute. So I like to, look nice for him. So she bought this hair clip that she thought was really beautiful. And she's like, I can't wait to wear it for my dad. He's going to call me cute. And, there's a lot of not misconception, but there's a lot of mixed opinions on this hair clip, what its actual real ability is. And as of right now, no one can say for sure what this thing's ability was. So you just kind of have to, take your best guess and sort of not believe what you want to believe, but just sort of have your own interpretation of this and think what you want, because it's really left obscure, if this hair clip had more of a psychological effect or more of an actual physical effect, because it shows symptoms of both. But until Araki officially comes out and tell us what this hair clip's ability was, it's just left up for the individual to decide. As it really doesn't matter. There's no reason to argue about, was this thing making Yasuo see things, or was it just, deteriorating her body physically? It doesn't really matter. There's no need to argue about it. Just take it as you will, and just, have your own interpretation of the ability after reading this chapter. So after Yasuo buys this hair clip, everything starts to go downhill, and she starts to fall in sort of a deep depression as things start to just go bad in her life. Although she has this hair clip that she loves, she found out that it was her friend's birthday at school, and she was like, oh my god, I was so wrapped up, I was so obsessed with my hair clip, and I spent all my money on it that I totally forgot it was my friend's birthday. So then it turns out all of the kids at school didn't like Yasuo anymore, and they sent her an extremely mean text message right here. Ungrateful much. Screw you, moron. Screw you. And yeah, people don't actually talk like that. So Yasuo just got really bullied at school. All of her friends just, sort of abandoned her. So that was just like step one in the downfall of Yasuo's like self-esteem. So that was the first effect of the hair clip. Next up, we see that it is actually having physical effects on Yasuho, causing an extreme amount of dandruff or just skin particles to come off her. Like, her hair is just crazy. She's like, I used Head and Shoulders, I used shampoo, I used all of this, and she went to the doctor to get skin medicine, and she's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just so flaky, and obviously it's an effect of the hair clip. As when we see she takes the hair clip off to go to bed, and she uses the face moisturizer that she got from the doctor, and she wakes up and she's like, oh, everything's all right. The moisturizer worked, but it was just because she took the hair clip off. So when she awakes that day after having clear skin, the hair clip is nowhere to be seen. Obviously, we're just left to infer that the hair clip just went off, as it is a rock animal and is able to move, and it has like sort of legs. And this is another step into Yasuo's deep depression and another thing sort of leaving her. She gets in a huge fight with her mom. As we saw in the beginning of JoJolion, there was already tension with Yasuo's mom, and everyone was like, Yasuo mom, worst mom in the story, and she just didn't really care about her. But as you can see, Yasuo's mom isn't like really an entirely terrible person here, as Yasuo is just making really bold accusations. But I guess that's reasonable to think when you're a 13-year-old. I mean, the accusations she was making towards her mother were pretty justified. And I mean, myself in my middle school ages probably would have said something like this too. She's like, you took that hair clip because you didn't want me to look good for my dad. You hate dad so much. You don't want me to spend time with him. Why did you take the hair clip? You stole it. And they just get in a huge fight. And Yasuo's mom's like, Yasuo, like, stop. Why are you doing this? But I could really see this from Yasuo's perspective. I mean, like, even myself in my life, I've had this happen where I'm arguing with my parents or something when I'm just like thinking, irrationally or out of emotions, and I'm making wild accusations. Like, this is really relatable for a teenager. Okay, like I mentioned, how there is a lot of dialogue, and I'm just briefly going over what happened in Yasuo's flashback. I'm really skipping a lot of pages here. That's what I'm saying. Go back and analyze it yourself and really take it all in. But I wanted to mention this one page right here that was like, like Araki knows, man. Araki's high school as fuck. He says, okay, this is Yasuo when, back when she was in middle school and her friends all abandoned her. She said, I was so focused on buying my hair clip yesterday, I didn't even think about it. And no, I didn't even send her a midnight birthday text. Everybody knows. Like, yeah, Araki gets the kids. I don't know if you guys ever remember that, like in middle school and like elementary school and shit. Like when you first got a cell phone, everyone would like text you happy birthday at midnight, and like people would be like, just on like random holidays, like everyone would like forward messages like happy Easter everyone, like before the days of Twitter or everything. You guys remember that? When you would have like a text message come in that would be forwarded to like 100 people, you'd open it, it'd be like, forward this to 20 people or your mother will die in her sleep or something stupid like that. Yeah, it was like retweets before retweets were a thing. But that was just really reminiscent of the past right there, that birthday text dialogue box. Okay, so back into Yasuo and her mother's giant fight. They're just screaming, yelling at each other. Yasuo is hysteric, just crying everywhere, and her mom's crying too. Like, Yasuo, what is wrong with you? Why are you saying this to me? And eventually it just leads up with Yasuo she's like, oh, the garbage is here. The garbage truck's here. You threw it out, you dumb bitch. Why did you throw out the hair clip? And she runs out trying to get to the garbage, and she slips and falls and hits her head. And then we see sort of the physical effect of the rock animal and how it operates. So once Yasuo trips and falls, bashes her head, we see this really weird rock animal. It has like 2 legs and almost like wings in the back, and it dives into Yasuo's hair. This is really like creepy to look at. I don't know what this phobia is called, but just seeing like the hair follicles really up close, and this thing looking like a piece of lice like digging into Yasuo's head is really freaky. So that's how the rock animal is able to control people in a sense, or that's how it's able to attach onto people. Its tongue will really stab into the skull, and it will live within your hair, as it is a hair clip, so it's pretty natural for people to put it in their hair. And seeing how the ability works fundamentally and just sort of how it operates can leave people to believe all sorts of different things on how its ability actually works. And now when Yasuo awakes, we see her father. Yeah, like we never see dads in JoJo, but we see Yasuo's dad here, and he's just a really basic looking character. Not really ugly like a lot of the minor people in JoJolion. Like take the police officers, for example, in the Blue Hawaii arc. He's just a normal looking dude in Araki's new art style. And when she awakes, her father is just really loving him, being like, Yasuo, you fell, and I found your hair clip outside, which sort of like also manipulates Yasuo to believe that her mother did throw this out, as her father was like, I found this little hair clip outside, like, is this yours? So she's probably like in her head like, that fucking bitch did go out there and throw it out. I'm like, thank you, dad, you're my hero. But as we are led to believe right now, what this rock animal does is that it sort of subtly and subconsciously takes things away from people, but in a natural way. So it's removing things from people's life, but it makes it seem natural. Friends at school, getting in a fight with Yasuo's mom, and now her father goes on this big speech like, Yasuo, you're my daughter, I love seeing you, but I've recently, I want a life of myself too. I've met a lover and we plan on having a child together. Me and your mom aren't together anymore, and I want to live a life of my own. So he says, I won't be able to see you anymore on Sundays. I have to dedicate this day to my wife, my new wife, because I'm going to be, I'm already so busy with work and stuff, whatever he does. So he only has one day to spend time with her. And Yasuo was just absolutely devastated by this. Like, I don't feel good. I need to go to the bathroom. And while her father's saying this, he is physically being taken away from Yasuo, as the rock animal is deteriorating things away from him much more rapidly than it did with Yasuo. And we saw Yasuo was just dandruff and skin particles coming off her, but with Yasuo's dad, it looks like he's not physically being affected like that. He doesn't realize that this is happening. And this has led some people to believe that Yasuo's dad wasn't even real, and this was all just a hallucination and created by the rock animal. And this is where the difference is, and, the ability does this, the ability does this comes into play. I'd rather just not argue about it, and just, like I said, take it as you will, go by your interpretation, because it really doesn't matter. And we get a really nice panel of Yasuo's dad just standing there looking at her, physically and metaphorically being taken away from Yasuo's life. And like I said, guys, this is a really amazing chapter here. And when Yasuo said she doesn't feel good, she ran to the bathroom, and Yasuo's mother was like, the doctor should be here any minute. And where we see where Yasuo's mother was, it's exactly where Yasuo fell, on the staircase right there. So this has also led people to believe, like, maybe her father wasn't even there. This was all just a hallucination, because Yasuo's mother hasn't acknowledged the father being there, and she's still in the same position as when Yasuo fell. And she's saying the doctor will be here any minute, because when Yasuo fell, she was like, I'm going to call the doctor, get over here. She goes into the bathroom, and Yasuo attempted to kill herself, lying in the bathtub with a razor blade with her wrist slit, and also with the hair clip sitting right next to the bathtub. And that concludes Yasuo's flashback. Really impactful scene, and just a lot to take in at your first read. Yasuo's suicide attempt really seen into her past, and also let's go over the rock animal's ability real quick. Really, basically, one it could be both even. One ability that could be deducted by reading this chapter is that the rock animal's ability was to take nutrients away from people, similar to like Highway Star. How once it latches onto you, it's able to just like remove the nutrients and remove all the vitamins from your body, just leaving you an empty shell really, and just deteriorating you. As we saw when she put on the hair clip, she had a bunch of dandruff, which was just her skin flakes all being removed from her, but also it leads especially me to believe this was my first interpretation of the ability. As I was confused, I was like, I really don't understand why this ability is causing a lot of dandruff and taking things away from people, until I had a conversation with Medi over whenever these new chapters come out. Me and Medi always have good back and forth with this, so a lot of these ideas I got to give credit to Medi. He always brings good things in the forelight, and it's like, hey, did you ever think of this? Did you ever think of this? So a lot of these ideas are a mixture of me and Medi's. I always like having conversations with people whenever you read these chapters. Of course, like, these videos are just big discussions. Always get another person's opinion, because we realize a lot of other things. So in like every one of these chapter reviews, shout out to all the people I talk to on Discord and Medi and all these people who just bring new ideas into my head before I do these reviews. So one ability for the rock animal is nutrients. It sucks the life out of people. Another idea is that it sort of causes like a mental effect of greed, where Yasuo was so obsessed with this hairpin that it led her to have all of her friends leave her, like sort of like the Ring from Lord of the Rings, how you get like obsessed with greed. I probably shouldn't be talking about this. I'm not a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I just know that if you have the Ring, it really changes your mental state and it causes extreme greed, like similar to that. So she had the hair clip, and her obsession over it led to her friends hating her because she didn't send the birthday text, and also the greed she had and the affection she showed toward this hair clip led to her getting in this huge fight with her mother. So I really think that was also the hair clip's ability, sort of making people themselves cause the things around them to be taken away. It takes things away from you physically, being your nutrients and just like your body, but it also causes things around you to leave. And now we get into the scene with her father. It's really not a stretch of an imagination to believe that her father was never even there. There was never even a conversation with her father. That was all in Yasuo's head, and it was all a manifestation of the hair clip that manipulated Yasuo into wearing it. As, when she was knocked out, maybe her father wasn't even there, and it was the hair clip that was digging into her memories. As we saw, its tongue went into Yasuo's head, and maybe it manifested this scenario where Yasuo's dad came out and was like, Yasuo, I found your hair clip. Why don't you put it back on? As in, here, wear this so I can continue to suck the life out of you. And of course, also, I guess it was leading people to just die, sucking all the life out of them and even bringing them to the brink of suicide, as it may have even manifested the whole scenario of Yasuo's father saying that he was going to leave her, and then metaphorically, I'm going to leave you, I have this wife, I can't see you anymore, and physically seeing the father being taken away from Yasuo, just completely being, torn off in chunks, and this really fucked with Yasuo's mental state, leading her to kill herself. So that's about it I'll have for Yasuo's flashback. This rock animal's ability it's probably both. It's able to create, psychological effects on a person and manifest these situations, and also it has the physical effects. So really interesting ability here, and like I said earlier in the review, it really seems like a twist on some sort of folklore story or some sort of ancient story. You guys could have to look into that if this story has any parallels with any other folklore or anything like that. Let me know in the comment section, because that's like total vibes I'm getting from this. So the first part of Yasuo's flashback was pretty cool, seeing her encounter with a rock animal and now just realizing what it was that she saw. Pretty smart of her to make the connection, looking at Do Re Mi Fa Sol La Ti Do and being like, yeah, I have had something like this experience before. This random thing that just destroyed my life. So good job, Yasuo. And also now we see pretty much the best part of the chapter that brings all of the development into Yasuo's character and is going to turn her into the character that she is for the remainder of JoJolion and give her her own motive. And it's also nice to see Araki bring up the walleyes and the bite marks again. In my end of JoJolion video, plot points that need to be addressed, I mentioned both of those things, and it's nice Araki is actually drawing them and putting them into the dialogue of the story again. She talks about how when the walleyes started to emerge, when she found Josuke, what was the reason why I grabbed onto him? Why was I gravitated so much towards this person and I wanted to help him? How she talks about, I didn't even think about it. As soon as I saw Josuke, I immediately grabbed his wrist and pulled him up out of the ground. And the reason why she actually did this was because of something, it was a revelation in her life that really changed her outlook on life after her suicide attempt. And it's really kismet how all of these things are tying in together, as we see in the second part of Yasuo's flashback, how, before she even met Josuke, before Josuke even came into fruition, before he was even created, Yasuo had these connections and had these happenings with Kira Yoshikage and Hali-san, and the way it just weaves together feels so natural, and it's really awesome, and it gives more of a purpose for Yasuo and Josuke to be so connected to each other and have such an unexplainable love connection. She says, but I remember something very important and very self-evident. There isn't a single good thing to overlook. And we get into the second part of the flashback where she is with Hali-san. It's pretty much just Yasuo recovering from her suicide attempt, unconscious in the hospital bed, and as she wakes, Hali-san comes up behind her and says exactly that. It's self-evident. There's not a single good thing to overlook. That means something important. If you look only at yourself, you won't be able to see it. And then the boy arrives. Kira Yoshikage is back in JoJolion. I never thought we were going to see this dude again, but it's great to see Kira. And he looks fucking beautiful. And after seeing all of Kira's dialogue and everything he just says and how he comes off in this chapter, it's like, dude, Kira is such a cool character. He's so much better than Josuke. He's everything Josuke should have been. He's just like the likable, cool character. He's almost like a superhero in a sense, as we see in this chapter. He's just like, hey, did that weird doctor lady come in and say anything to you? Just ignore her. She won't be a doctor anymore, as this was probably really late. Well, Yasuo was only 13. Maybe Holly was beginning to suffer from the rock disease now, and she was beginning to become sick, because he says, but for certain reasons from today on, she won't be a doctor anymore. She won't be your attending physician either. So maybe Holly was getting sick at this point, suffering from the rock disease, and this was like her last, times being a doctor. So Kira was sort of like, she has holes in her brain. She doesn't know what she's talking about. Don't listen to her. But as we see, Holly's words of wisdom really changed Yasuo's life and was sort of the catalyst for the entire plot of JoJolion. And then good guy Kira comes in and he's like, hey, this is your hair clip, isn't it? I accidentally stepped on it. I broke it. By the way, it's a fake. Like, forget about this thing. It sucks. Throws it away. And it's just like, dude, Kira is a superhero. He's such like a vigilante, like saving the innocent people and in his everlasting fight against the rock humans and the rock animals. Just like, so fucking cool how like he's just treating Yasuo like an innocent bystander, and he really saved her from this hair clip, and he's just like, yeah, this thing, forget about it. It's a fake. It's a cheap. But he's like, yeah, I saved this person's life. Onto the next rock human that needs its ass kicking, and onto the next rock animal that I need to stop to save the people of Morioh. It's like, I would really like to see some sort of one shot of just Kira Yoshikage's life, sort of in his teenage years, because we've already seen like 4 flashbacks of Kira in his teenage years, back when he saved Josufume, right now, and then also back in the Damo arc when he was with Josufume when they were older. Kira is just one of the most interesting characters and also one of the most likable characters in JoJolion. He is a superhero with Killer Queen fighting against the rock humans for the safety of mankind. And Yasuho just puts all of these puzzle pieces together and everything just falls into place in her head. She's like, that was Kira Yoshikage. I'm certain of it. And that was definitely Hale-san who gave me these words that would change my life forever. And it's such a cool connection. Every part of JoJo always has, 1 or 2 big revelations that sort of connects things in one way or another. And this is just like so awesome how Hale Joestar, Hale Yoshikage was, Hale Kira, was the catalyst for the entire events of JoJolion and the reason why Yasuo pulled up Josuke and the reason why they have that love connection. It's like I said before, it's kismet, it's fate. It's just so awesome. And, her experience with Hale and Kira led to her, almost falling in love and making this huge connection with what is now the remnants of Kira and Josufume. It's a lot to take in. And it's like, wow, all of this had been, did Araki plan for this? Did Araki know that he was going to have this flashback with Yasuo all the way back in the first chapter of JoJolion? I don't know. Maybe he thought of this midway or just recently just to, give Yasuo's character more of an importance in the story, and things just sort of lined up. But whatever the reason was, if Araki had it planned from the beginning or just recently, he implemented this into the story perfectly to give Yasuo's character a lot of purpose. It's just so great, man. And especially the dialogue that Yasuo comes in with next is just like, oh, yes. Like, it's like that moment where it's like, fuck yes, this works. This is good. How she's like the one that, like, I physically pulled Josuke up, but Josuke was the one that mentally supported me and pulled me up, giving my life purpose again and making me feel like an important person. It's just, oh my God. It's good shit. And Yasuo just screams out, I have the same motive as Josuke. I want to get my hands on the Rokakaka too. This is my purpose in life. This is why I'm here, to help you guys. Because, she needed a reason to be in the story, really. She could have been in the story without this flashback, but it really would have felt more forced, and I definitely would have been like, why is Yasuo even here? Why is she risking her life for really no purpose at all, other than this strange forced relationship with Josuke? But this chapter right here just gave everything a purpose and made Yasuo's character 10 times better. And that concludes Yasuo's flashback arc and develops her character more so than a lot of other characters in current JoJolion and just in JoJo in general. It's really hard to do that in just one chapter, although the chapter is like 47 pages, but really nice to see Yasuo become a relevant character for a good purpose. And again, screaming, I understand the rank of priorities, Norisuke orders are number 1! And she's just like, fuck yes, like I'm in this, I'm part of the group, I want to fight with you guys. And she goes, like, keep in mind, she told that entire story of the rock animal and her past and now her new motive and what her goal is all out loud. And my man Mamazuku, being as stone cold as ever, is like, after Yasuo told this entire story out loud, is like, okay, I understand, I guess. No need to really yell, and I don't really care about your whole story. He's just like, oh my God, Mamazuku's a god. So now, finally, I believe that we are done at Honorero Mountain, and we are going to be able to move on, and the next arc, like we thought was going to happen at the end of chapter 70 with Ozone Baby, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to see what Ozone Baby's ability is. I wonder if Jobin's actually going to follow through with this. Now we get all of that at the end of this chapter, and I really want to hope that next chapter is going to begin the next arc and the battle at the Higashikata estate between Jobin, Poor Tom, whatever other rock humans and rock animals they get involved against Josuke, Mamazuku, and Yasuo. And it makes a lot more sense now. Yasuo has her reason to be in the story. She has her motive, and she is ready to kick some ass. And I love how during all of that, Josuke didn't have shit to say. This just emotionless, autistic, fake person who is just like, oh my God, he's just like, he didn't even know how to process it in his brain. He's just like, okay, Yasuo. Didn't have anything to say about Yasuo's story. But we switch scenery to the Higashikata estate. You can see the mansion in the background, and just right in, so close to the mansion, right in the orchard, Jobin, with a knife for some reason, I guess this man doesn't know that shovels exist, begins to dig a hole, and in the final page of the chapter, buries Ozone Baby. And the last bit of narration we get, just to sort of keep readers guessing, is the ulterior motives surrounding the fruit are interesting. And Jobin is just burying Ozone Baby beginning to kick off this final arc, and with his motive to defeat Josuke, Mamazuku, and Yasuho. So, holy shit, man. And hair clip, rock human, unknown name, destroyed. That is the end of chapter 71. Dude, this is like top 5 chapters in JoJolion. This is really good. And this is really nice that JoJolion is getting better and better. And things are making sense. And things are working. And things are connecting. It's fucking exciting, man. And this next arc is only going to get better because what we're led to believe, as we've only been introduced to poor Tom and Ozone Baby, Jobin is going to be fighting someone. Whether it be his father, whether it be Josuke, whether it be Mamazuku, whether it be anyone, I really don't see this going any other way. Jobin has to be involved in this fight in some way. Ozone Baby is going to create the setting. It's going to make it so this is an isolated area where only certain members and certain people, or set certain restrictions on the battle, but this is exciting. The next big fight is going to happen in JoJolion. It's taking place where the Rokakaka branch is, where we've been waiting to get to for like over a year now. Jobin's involved. It's right next to the Higashikata family. What other members are going to get involved? What other family members are going to get stuck in Ozone Baby's radius? Hato, Daya maybe? Well, not Daya. She's kind of blind and stupid. But, Hato, Joshua, Kato even, she has to come into play some point because she is going to be the main villain. This is like the most excited I've ever been for another chapter of JoJolion. This shit is hype, and this chapter was absolutely incredible. Let me know what you guys thought about this chapter down below. What are your thoughts on Yasuho and what the hair clip's real ability was? Was it a mixture of both physical effects and mental effects? Was it just one or the other? Was that just symbolism with Yasuho's father being taken away? Whatever you think, let me know. Let's have a discussion. I love talking about JoJolion with you guys each month. These are definitely some of my favorite videos to make. And yeah. Anyways, thank you all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe for more, and like if you enjoyed, if I didn't say that already. Anyways, guys, I will see you next month for another JoJolion chapter review. Thank you all for watching.